Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we are doing another King Kong figure comparison with all of these various King Kong figures that you see right in front of you, including Playmates' 2005 Kong, the that one's Peter Jackson, the Kong Skull Island Kong from Playmates, specifically the Classic Series line, the 2017 Okay, I'm getting my Kongs mixed up. I'm looking at one Kong while introducing the next. The 2021 Kong with Battle Axe Kong with battle damage as well from Playmates. The Mezco's King Kong of Skull Island and the NECA King Kong original release. So, if you guys don't know, this is actually a follow-up video to a video I made roughly about 1 to 2 years ago, closing in on 2 years ago, where we specifically pit everyone but him up against each other. And from the results of that video, he basically won the whole thing, but these three were pretty close. So I decided to why not make that video again, but throw him and his repaints into the mix. Here's how we're doing this though. His repaints are not going to be directly part of this video. Why? Because I feel as if we constantly flip back and forth between him and having that's 3 of him plus himself, plus these Kongs, that's going to be 8 different Kongs in one comparison video. And given how similar the Kongs are, compared to each other, it's just way too similar. Yeah, you could argue that because these guys are all from the same company, yeah, they're relatively similar, but they're all completely different sculpts. He is not. All of the Kongs from the NECA line are completely similar. So, for the time being, we are going to be using just him primarily, while also mentioning the original ones, which may or may not change out the verdict. So with that being said, we're going to be dividing this up into another 7-rounder, I think it is. Sculpt and paint, articulation, size, accessories, price, availability, and packaging. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do round 1. So for sculpt and paint, I know, you're probably going to say, oh, but this is going to play out exactly like last time. Here's the thing about last time. I feel like I was not giving these guys enough of a fair shot, and I was being a little bit biased towards the Mezco because he was my closest or one of my most recent purchases of that time. And now that I have the NECA, which I only just got right before Christmas, and then at Christmas, I got 2 NECA King Kongs, by the way, I've had enough time to really sink in my thoughts about all 5, so let's go ahead and briefly cover them all. And as in briefly, I mean really briefly. So, the 2005 Playmates Peter Jackson Kong is made of a solid black kind of charcoal-like plastic with some very nice gray dry brushing over top and nicely done red kind of slash marks on it, which gives it a much more roughed up, dirty look. The teeth are probably one of the best things that are painted on this because they got some natural transition, kind of dry brushing on there. The eyes look really well painted too. However, the claw marks are a bit hit and miss. Here, they're actually painted pretty well, but then you directly get to here, and because they're just slapped on there, not actually sculpted in, the consistency of it is a bit awkward. Like, for example, here, you have these great slash marks. They're actually painted in there. Meanwhile, you get to the arm and it's just kind of there. So, not exactly the best quality of paint, but it definitely gets the job done. Also, because of how old it is, it's definitely got, again, a much more roughed up, dirty look, which I guess you can kind of blame on longevity. But again, it has a pretty dang nice look overall to it. The 2017 Kong Skull Island figure has a bit more of a different type of look to it. It's kind of much more softer details in comparison to its rivals, but makes up for it with its coloring. See, the face is actually kind of much more darker in comparison to the other Kongs, and its eyes are much more vibrant, giving it a nice contrast, the eyes really pop. Kind of mimicking his old posters where it was really darkly lit, but you could still see his eyes clear as day. The kind of black to gray spray is really nice with the scars kind of painted on there. Not really sculpted in, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Let's see, we got some nice spray on the wrists right here and here, kind of where the palms are, and kind of where the toes are. And aside from that, that is kind of it. If I remember correctly, this uses the mold from the Leonard con that was released like a few years back. And yeah, it does. I think it does use this mold. I can't quite tell for sure, but for what is here, it's pretty well done with the nice kind of different materials and stuff used, and the details are fairly nice for what it is. The Godzilla vs. Kong, specifically the Battle Axe version, has a lot more going for it. It has again, a kind of a much more darker face. This time it's just kind of pure black to the kind of, I guess, the brown fur on the sides of it. And it looks very nice with kind of like the spray going from the face to the body itself. But again, much like the Kong Skull Island figure, it has orange eyes, but they're not as vibrant. But he does have the open mouth, which is a nice addition. And his teeth are not really painted all that great. I mean, they're kind of one just solid color, but again, for the price point, which we'll get into that moment, it's pretty good. Tongue looks very simplistic, and the gums kind of just brown, same color as the plastic. But again, it's not bad considering the price point, which again, we'll go back to that. But I think what really steals the show is not really the spray that's used on the man boobs, nor the feet or the palms, but it's actually the dry brushing. You could tell that this is probably the best dry brushing of all the Playmates Kongs used, specifically on the shoulders too. Not much of it on the body, but there is a lot of it on the legs. But if we go into the back, it doesn't really carry much of the dry brushing, because I mean, it's just kind of blank detail. But again, what the detail is here is really well done, and it's surprisingly really great, and especially like, again, imagine again, the price point, solid black feet, the bottom, and it's just overall a really nice looking figure overall. So being a little bit more unbiased in this video, you can definitely tell that Mezco went all out with the detail work. I mean, it's much more defined than any of the Playmates Kongs are, and it also continues that mild dry brushing that's found throughout the body. I will say that, ow, I think I just stabbed myself on that little tiny spike of fur. Oh, that was weird. You see that? Yeah, even Kong fur can still hurt. Sounds weird to say. Fur can hurt you. But yeah, okay, that is a pretty damn cool shot right there. But yeah, Kong himself, his eyes are painted really well, wonderfully. You got like some nice gray transition to the brown used on the body, and it's just mixed in with a mild dry brushing of different browns and grays to really bring out more of that highlighted detail and such. The bottom of the feet are kind of black, gray, kind of blackish. Same with like the face, the chest, and the face, the chest, and the palms, more specifically. And it also uses like a lot of what do you say? Again, much more dry brushing, painted details. So it has a lot of that going for it. Not to mention, it's very stylized because it's based on the book. And this one is probably the one you guys have been waiting for, the Mezco, sorry, not Mezco, NECA King Kong, which uses a bunch of different details more similar to the Mezco, but instead of scars, it actually has freshly cut wounds. Like, look at this. It looks like flat out blood, doesn't it? And it's actually painted and sculpted really damn well. The fur detail, again, it's kind of mixed in with like a lot of grays. I will say it's a bit inconsistent. Like, I think I would have rather had the grays like more sporadic and how it is here, more towards the fists, the face, the man boobs, and the feet. But